What up, what up? It's your boy Drew.
It's your boy Junior.
It's your boy Drew.
And this is
The Man Cave
Podcast.
Yay, yay. All right, folks. Tonight's a very special episode because interviewing the extravagant, the courageous, the most charismatic person you ever met, Jax Delavega.
Hi, y'all.
So I'm interviewing her for her incredible book, Injustice Silence. You know, you can get it on Amazon if you want the digital copy. Comes a digital copy, comes with a hard copy, and if you want to be the more elegant type of reader with the soft paper in the back, you can get that one too. So let's once again, Injustice Silence on Amazon. Great book, ultimate raw detail.
Link in bio.
Link in the bio. And trust me, this is one of the most rawest books you ever read because she let it all out. No doubt. So, Jack, what made you come out, with that spontaneous story? What made you bring out the dark side of your life like that?
It's just something that never gets talked about, and it started with me journaling. I would journal all the time, and it would just help. And, after going through court and all that stuff it was on national news. You remember when all that stuff was going down, and so many people reached out. It was just an outlet to be able to write about it and talk about it and be able to just do a bunch of stuff with it. And so it started off as a journal, had someone read it. They loved it. They worked for a publishing company, and they're like, did you ever think about turning this into a book? You're a writer. And I did always love writing. I never thought I would be writing books, but I love books. I love reading. So it was something that was big for me and it just started one thing after another, ripple effect. I did have a version of this before sobriety. I got sober through all this, and then that one was a little rough, and then afterwards it got much better, and then I was able to write it the way that I needed to, and with all my truths, and it just helped not being afraid of something. You just learn that you have to talk about this. It's something that's not talked about enough, and so many people hide so many secrets because of what they're told, and they're so young, and it's just, I wanted this read to be, like you're saying, raw and real, and for people to understand that there's other people out there going through the same thing.
Okay, and as you were saying back, all this been happening since you was a kid. Like, what was the earliest memory you could think of the abuse?
Very early. Like, it's when I was probably in grade school, probably starting from between ages and everything that I was going through. I probably can remember far back as like 8 to 10, and then that's when it first starts off. And it's crazy too, because in the book I don't mention any names, of course, just for safety reasons, but I remember every name, everything that happened, and every step-by-step thing. Like, I can remember every single person in the neighborhood, everybody I came in contact with. I can remember exactly where it was, things like that.
And as the abuse goes, like, was it like a daily thing, weekly thing, or every once in a while?
It was just continuous. It was a family thing, so it was continuously with family, whether it was mental or physical. It had both. Okay,
so when it comes to the family, does it be like more the female side, or is it the male side of the family?
Both.
On both?
It's the fact of people enabling it. And so even if you went to someone to talk about it, they would have the defense, and they're taught to sweep it under the rug. So same thing. I mean, it's like the one main person doing that. I talk about that in the book. There's not just one monster to this story. It's many. Like, even though there's one person that got arrested and got caught, there's so many more, like me reaching out to someone before the main court stuff, even younger, when you try to let somebody know about it, them telling you nothing's wrong with it, to just leave it alone, that this person does this and that for you, that's a big thing about it, that everyone's working together to hurt you or not protect you, and that's the biggest problem of it all.
Wow, that's crazy. That's pretty, like, it's most of the kids that go through all the abuse, right? And
yeah.
It's almost like the adults say, like, oh, no matter what we do, we can do it, but y'all can't. And, like, if you as a kid, when you try to say those kind of things, 9 times out of 10, people ain't gonna believe you.
No.
Wow, that's like...
And even when you do finally come out and say it, like saying family loyalty, when it's healthy, there's not a problem. Of course you're gonna defend people that you love and care about, but then when someone's doing the wrong thing and everyone's circling to protect that, it makes no sense. But then they were taught that, so it's continuous, and that's why they talk about generational curses and breaking them, because you're trying to do better for yourself and your children, and know that they're priority and to always protect them. And that's the thing, I was never protected. I was told from everyone that it's okay. And a lot of it, I mean, I was drinking for a long time and heavily, but even back then, the excuse was always like, oh, he's just drinking. Oh, he had too much to drink. And that always made it okay. Oh. And that's traumatizing in itself, but we can't help but repeat those patterns because we were taught that that's the number one way to get over stuff, is to have a drink.
Wow, that's something. And also, speaking of generational curses, like, don't you feel like when you're trying to escape it, don't like when you try to run along from it, don't you feel like something's just doing this towards you, like go back to
how? For sure. Like, especially once the court stuff happened and I had to be there in defense for another person's child, it clicked in me to just do the right thing. It didn't matter everything that I was taught and everything I've been through. And I mean, you knew my relationship to me at that time, especially with everything. That was my best friend. That was my number one person. But as soon as something that bad happened and it was about protecting this child, I didn't care. I didn't care who I left. I had to go through the hardest times in my life going through stuff like that, and it didn't stop me. But you're right. There's many times, because the arrest happened in 2019, and then the final court date was in 2021. Throughout that time, you have no idea how many times I was like, am I being crazy? Is this crazy? Everyone, and it's not everyone, but it's the closest people that I loved and care about saying that I'm doing wrong.
Wow.
Yeah.
And during that time, like, did you have a hard time sleeping? Like, you know, was you eating anything? Like, you know,
I had a hard time sleeping, and that's why I turned to alcohol, drugs, whatever I could to numb the pain or to feel some kind of sanity. It was one of the hardest times of my life.
Okay. And while you was, you know, doing the alcoholism, you know, the drugs, like, did you actually went to another? Did it feel like you went to another dimension to where it was getting to the point to where, like, I need to escape this?
I mean, I couldn't. I was a mom.
Okay.
I was a mom, and the thing is, like, I would think that drinking at home was okay, but then I would get to the point that sometimes, you know, I would pass out, but that's the only way I could sleep sometimes. And so the direction that I was, I'm sure somebody else would have tried to escape it, but I couldn't. And then the worst part was COVID hit. So every month I would get notice that I'm going to go to court, and then they would cancel it. So they did that for 2 years.
Wow.
Yeah.
As they say, the developmental hell in the movies, where they got it going, but they keep prolonging it, longer to where it was making people go crazy. Like, they almost like they just want to give up.
Yeah. And that was one of the hardest things, is I had no support from everyone, except I met two of the most amazing friends that I had, you know, but it was hard to reach out. It's hard to talk about it. Even though you know you're about to face something so big or be in court and any of that stuff, it's hard to talk about. You try to stay out of it and just numb the pain until you're physically there. I think I got completely out of control and gone 2 days prior. I talk about that in the book. Like, I actually got pulled over. It was a whole thing. I was yelling, being like, I'm about to be in court. Y'all can't do anything to me. And that's the delusion of it, that you're trying to numb something that hurts you so bad. And you make all those mistakes along the way, but you figure it out.
Wow. So, yeah, those 2 days prior, that was pretty much, that was your crash out, pretty much.
Yeah.
Wow. So, and honestly,
it was real.
Yeah.
It was like, it's here. And even though they've canceled so many times, I knew this time it was real because they brought us to the courthouse.
Okay.
So they brought us to interview the children. They brought to interview me and everybody else that was about to be a part of it.
Okay. And no, it wasn't like, you know, being on that side of court. You know, you see that stuff on TV, you know, Law and Order, that type of stuff, you know, seeing, I said, wow, like, prosecuting all this, but now since you're actually in it, like, what's the vibe feeling in that? Especially going through all the alcoholism and stuff. Like, would you still think you were still present, or was you ready to get it over with?
It was kind of both. I was kind of afraid of the outcome, even though it couldn't get any worse than what was happening. But it was also the fact of, weirdly, that you bring up Law and Order. It's very similar to Law and Order SVU, where they bring up that there's not just one person in this case. You have people bullying you. Like, I had family and friends threatening me, or writing on my Facebook and threatening me and saying different things like, you shouldn't be doing this. I can't believe you. Like, he committed the crime. There's evidence. There's all these heinous things to the story, and yet people still came to his defense because they couldn't believe it. I mean, you knew the character. That's what they say a lot of the times. You know, narcissism has that. They make everybody feel so welcomed and things, but it's behind closed doors, the things that are doing. But then when someone comes out and says something about it, you don't believe it.
Yeah.
So, I mean, honestly, if I didn't catch it red-handed myself, I would even with all the stuff that I bring up from my past and beforehand, I wouldn't have believed it right then and there. It almost puts you in a shock that it's happening. You can't, I think for the first week when all of it happened, my mind was just numb. I ended up being hospitalized.
Wow.
Yeah.
So, the moment that you caught the act, what was the first thing that was going through your mind when you saw that? Like, Did you really thought you was either you thought you was hallucinating, or did you really like you couldn't believe what was right in front of your face? Like how did that feel? How did that struck you at that first moment when you saw that?
I think being a mother helped because if it was any other situation, I probably wouldn't have believed it. But I think being a mom and seeing another child being harmed, you just right away were like, protect that. Protect that. You didn't care about anything else. You were just like, something not right is happening, so you grab the child first and you deal with that, and then that's what you go for. And honestly, I'm surprised myself with everything that I've been through that I was able to react that quickly. Like, right from wrong, I did right immediately, and there was no questions asked. I mean, it got to a point that my friend was even like, are you sure we should call the cops? And I was like, yes, because that's the fear they get put into, to always protect a family member, and that you don't have to do that. And that's what's so wrong. And that moment when she said that is when I realized, like, we're not doing this. Not this time around.
It's understandable
because I wish somebody stood up for me like that. Yeah. I wish I could have gone to someone that wouldn't have told me to just leave it alone because of financials and everything that they do.
In reality, though, like I remember when you told me, like remember when I said like if I was there with y'all, what we were going through in my head, I would say that's not that guy I know anymore. That's a monster.
Yeah.
That's the monster, and then you already know how I am. You know I'm gonna come at him.
That you're a good person.
I'm a good person.
You have a solid heart. Everything about your character is really good. That's the thing, though. And you don't have that in your past or, family telling you not to do the right thing constantly. This was the opposite. Like even my friend being what she's been through, she had a lot in that in her past. So even the moment that it happened, she even questioned it. We all did, but it just, there was no ifs, ands, or buts about it. It's like something snapped in me and I was just like, nope, this isn't happening anymore.
Yeah, I couldn't. Yeah, when I saw the news, I couldn't believe that.
I get it. I mean, a lot of people didn't. There's people that clients came out of his. So many people being like, "There's no way. He is the nicest person in the world." Like I've witnessed it myself. Him give his shirt off his back to people. It was crazy, but that's what I'm saying. Like you don't get to live two different lives. You can't. That's just not how it works, and especially against a child.
Oh yeah, especially as a child, because that's just, I don't know, that's like the most bizarre thing. Anybody can just cross their mind like that. So let me ask you this though, like for the family members, like okay, for one of your siblings, like out of all of y'all, for siblings, who went through the most abuse the most? Who went through it the most?
I couldn't really answer that. I think between me and another sibling, it was about equal. Whether it was mentally, physical, and all the stuff, it's in the book about what went on and what I got told by, and that's a thing. Like, my dad revealed all this stuff to me. He told me a lot of it, but he was very big on, like, it already happened. Who cares? Like, it wasn't even himself. But that's the thing. Between the two of us, it was definitely probably about equal. Maybe one more than the other, but we don't really know that. We don't talk about it. And then we have one other sibling that he lived a very different life. Like, I don't think anything ever happened to him. And it's so crazy that how many families, since this have came out, have brought up that they've lived a different life than their other sibling, and their sibling didn't endure half the things. And that just sometimes happens. It's like pick or choose of who they're going to do it to.
It does make sense. I've heard stuff like that multiple times. Like, some siblings get treated better than the others. Some get treated like they're the most unwanted child. And then the one be living a perfect life. Oh, this is the savior of the family. That type of thing.
Yes, that happens a lot. But I think also what a lot of people don't understand or what comes out of this is that they do that on purpose. Like, they make one sibling be like, oh, them two are awful. And that's what I talk about so much is that they always, my dad specifically, to one sibling was always like, he's such a loser, blah, blah, blah. He doesn't do this, he doesn't do that. But they're doing that to belittle them. So we believe it. And so, I mean, till this day, then I have the other sibling that's always like, I don't know why y'all just couldn't act right. You were bad kids. We were kids. That's the thing. We didn't know any different. We were being taught this or told from a grown parent that's supposed to be there for us. And we're being taught all these things that are the opposite of what we actually learning the right way. So for the longest time, that's what I'm saying. They channel that to one person or the other. And then they kind of, it like benefits them to get us against each other, if that makes sense.
Yeah. So stuff like that makes you think too, like, okay, as a parent, as you got older, as like, starting to become more aware of what's going on in the world, don't it feel like to where the parents got that mentality to where, not mentality, I'm gonna say they know how to dish it out but can't take it. Like, it's cool when they do it, but if you do it, it's a problem.
Yes, I mean, that's one of the biggest things that continues. They want to do certain things like that. Like I said, being narcissistic has that tendency, but also, like I said, there's things that I've learned, and I was completely doing it over and over again, that I didn't realize that I was copying what I was taught. And even though I hated what they did to us or what someone did to me, I saw myself doing it too, because you don't mean to. But that's all you've been around. It's like being around someone for 20 years. You might not like everything they do. It bothers you and hurts you. Well, we're good friends.
Wait, no. Best friend in the whole wide world.
But that's the thing too. Like you see it, you're around it all the time. You don't even mean to without realizing it. Like one of the biggest things, with being sober, I did a lot of things that I shouldn't have been doing, in front of the kids, even joking around or saying certain things or languages. And then when they would say it back, I'd be like, where'd you learn that from? Well, obviously me. I'm the only one around them all the time. I'm their mother. But it's a hard thing to face that you are showing that. And a lot of things that you don't realize with your kids is they're just mirroring what they're watching out of you.
That's true. Yeah. Hey, lead by example, right?
Mm-hmm. Exactly. And
Hey,
they're sponges.
You're a great leader. Hey, you showing your kids the ultimate great path. Because I can tell you raising them spectacular. I see it. Times I've been seeing them, I say, yeah. I said, Jackie's doing it right. Doing it right to the fullest.
That one I do love. I love seeing them grow. I love learning from different things. I love realizing that sometimes, they learn the bad stuff from me, and we just got to turn it around and talk to them and be realistic about these kind of things. I mean, my oldest, he's so obsessed with wanting to read this book. I'm like, not quite yet, but just understand, I went through some different things that I'm so thankful they will never have to go through, ever. It's like when I met them, and even with all the problems that I have with drinking and everything else, I just knew protecting them was my number one thing.
And, for your number one, your number one guy, he pretty much saw most of that stuff because he was the most aware out of all of them. So, he ever question you about some of that stuff?
He does. He's the hardest one because the girls don't remember anything. But him being my oldest, he went through it the most with me. He went through sobriety. He went from before sobriety. And that kind of stuff, it comes back around being super regretful. But also you learn that kids are little people. Us as adults don't handle everything the right way. So they're just trying to handle their own feelings and everything else. But, kids are smart. There's times he's tried to manipulate situations, too. Like, he'd be like, if he wants something, he'd be like, Mom, do you remember that one time you drank? And I'm like, okay, let's leave that alone. Let's move past that. We've talked about a lot of things. But I do love that I can be very honest with him now and not be afraid of it anymore. I'm like, hey, you know what? There's no need to disrespect family members that we do see. But we're not always going to agree with them in their point of view. But we just keep it to ourselves. And if it ever was to stand my ground to talk to one of them, anybody saying something, then I would do that myself. But we still get to live some good relationships with some family members. There's some family members that do believe me and they understand it. That was one of the biggest things ever, too, is that rumors got spread around with the family because they were so upset about it. And they'd be like, oh, he only got put away for 25 years, no parole, because her testimony. So you think my testimony was the only thing that put him away? It wasn't the fact, all the DNA evidence, all the witnesses, and what actually happened. That stuff is crazy. But when people want to be ignorant about things, you can't change their mind. No. It doesn't matter if you had all the proof in the world. That's just where it's at.
Oh, yeah. And, for your family members, when they got word of it, were they trying to twist your words, trying to make it seem like, you was the ultimate villain pretty much, right?
Yeah. Yep. He was going to get caught up in a bunch of other stuff. It really wouldn't have mattered. You can't hide things like that, or even many other things that he wasn't doing correctly, Like a week prior to all this happening, he almost ran over my brother from drinking and driving. And it was so crazy, too, because before he got caught doing this, it literally, I said, because my brother was living with me, and I told him, I was like, he is either going to end up in jail forever from killing someone, drinking and driving, or getting a DWI and ruining everything that he has going on for himself. I said this probably a week before all this happened.
Wow.
Yeah.
You pretty much foresaw it, pretty much.
Well, I didn't expect it to be this bad.
Be like that? Yeah, not yet. Yeah,
no,
that's
for sure, but yeah.
Okay. And then, when he got caught in the act, don't they also make you think, maybe this probably ain't the first time he probably did something like that.
That runs in your head. You worry about your babies. I think that's the part that made me the craziest is I would question, but they were so little when it happened too.
Yeah.
And so all the time I'd be like, did this happen? Can you say? And they have counselors. Even though the crime didn't happen to them specifically, because it was all in the same household and they're my children, and the crime happened with all of us there, they do. They put them in very good counseling and question them. And man, I remember when we were at this one facility and it was very private, but they had the Texas Rangers show up there. And it was, when they interviewed him, the guy came out and he goes, we really don't think anything was happening to them. And I just broke down because it was a relief, but you'll question it for a long, long time.
Wow.
So,
and then back to, you was going through the process of the 2 year, like, your mind felt real heavy when you was going through all that, like heavy to where like, oh my, like, what's that movie? Like in that movie Inception, where all the world started curling up and stuff like that.
The first few weeks, like I even talk about in the book, I think I was sitting in the living room and the doorbell was going off on, and it was all over the news. Like one of my dad's sisters called me from California because she saw it on the news.
Wow, it made way over. Okay,
yeah,
so that was national news.
It's a
yeah,
big crime. What happened? You know, it was one of the top. Like that's what I was talking about too. Is I never knew that these top cops come. They're like the Texas Rangers, and they come when it's like a sexual abuse crime or a child. When it's this heinous of a felony, they come in. They came in like in these SUVs, all blacked out, these black hats, black suits. Like it was crazy. They were almost like ghosts.
They came out like they was on cue. You heard them doors open and close.
Yeah, sort of. It was really crazy. But that's what I'm saying. Like, I'm going through something that this is even happening. And then all this, like a movie, you know, with all this craziness that you never knew happened. And that's what I'm saying. Like, one of the craziest parts about it is, like, you were saying, one thing that it mentions, like, it really does, like, SVU has it on cue of what happens and what people go through, whether it's the victims or people fighting it. Like, you know, you want to yell at a TV show when they're like, why are you defending this monster? But when they're groomed so young and it's nonstop, they don't know anything else. And or like one of the biggest things that I had a really hard time with is, you know, people would reach out and they would give me their testimony because of what happened to me. But then they would tell me all these horrible things about someone that's doing this to them directly. And then that person would pass away and they would cry like they meant something to them. And I'm like, after everything they did to you? But that's the thing. That's what grooming does. You start this so young as a child, you don't even know how to react. And it's almost like freeing, like God knows what they're going through that process.
Yeah, or in other words, I'd be saying, you say groom, but out in the streets, programmed.
Yeah. Oh, wow. I've never heard it that way before.
Yeah.
That's crazy. Yeah, but that's a good way of putting it, yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
You can say either one. I think people actually can understand program more. I actually explain grooming in the book just so people understand when I'm talking about that, what it means.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, so for all the elegant speakers, like I said, grooming, they're preparing you. Like I said, streetwise, program, they're preparing you, but it's more harsher. It's more harsher. Groom is more elegant.
Yeah, that's a good way of putting it. That is very true. And that's exactly what it is. I mean, you start off young. You only know one thing. You're in this household for what? Basically your entire life. So then you're out an adult. You're going to repeat the same things. You don't know any better. You're already trapped. It's almost like Stockholm Syndrome. You just don't know any different. And like I said, if something happened to him in my 20s, I would have been at that funeral crying on the floor, even with everything that happened to me, because I never got a chance to talk about it or even think that it was wrong. So, because that's all I've ever known.
And you'd be surprised how much Stockholm Syndrome actually exists in the world as we speak, because, everybody got raised different type of ways, Once they get raised to that, that's all they know. That's all they know. And they, especially if it's a loved one, no matter how narcissist they are, it still makes you more ignorant about it because, you've been groomed about it. That's how you was raised. So, of course, somebody very narcissistic that you love, you love them, you're going to cry, feel bad, try to defend them, but it makes you so delusional on seeing the real truth.
Yeah. I think one of the things, too, that really bothers me from everything that I've been through is when a parent is just awful, but then they use the term, but I'm your mother. Like, oh, man, that one sets me off and it gets me too. Like, I'm like, first off, especially like in my heritage and my family line and stuff like that, like they were babies having babies, but then especially back then in their time, it's so different now. Now people are striving to have your own careers, to have your own stuff. And then once you do find someone, it's because you love yourself, you find someone and it's different. But especially back then, they thought marriage and having children, you've reached the top of the world. And that's the thing. They were so young doing stuff like that. But what's the easiest thing to have a kid? to make one.
Make one.
You can make one with anybody, you know? But
Yeah.
so as soon as you give birth, they're like, oh, well, I'm a parent now. That's not true. That's not true at all. You being a parent is protecting your child and doing whatever you can. But having a child is so selfless. Like, and it's hard. And then once you're trying to remove that damage, even with myself, when I was drinking and going through all this, I was going through all this and raising kids. That was a mess of things, and with the wrong partner. So I was doing it on my own, and it was so hard. But there's a lot of things I had to reverse, but I would never constantly hurt my children and then just be like, get over it, I'm your mother. That's so wrong. And that's something I will always stand on, regardless of what people say.
And on that part, you know, I've been through situations like my mom said, yeah, I'm your mama, you know, and all that. So as I got older, become more aware of seeing all the narcissism, all that, I told my mom, I was like, that's like the most cliche thing you can say, because that's like the only excuse you can say, because sometimes it doesn't go around the fact to where like, hey, it's like this, you know?
Yeah.
I mean, I know you're my mama and I love you, but it be some things to where, hey, you gotta be careful, you know?
Yeah.
But that's something that everybody goes through.
Yeah.
Yeah, everybody goes through that.
No, for sure. And that's what I'm saying. Like, especially like when we were younger, the one night stands or anything, a baby could came out of any of that. That doesn't exactly make you a parent. It's what you do afterwards. That's one of the easiest things you could do is create a child. So for me, it's like, it's what you do when they're here and what you're doing to help them develop into a good person. And that's my number one goal always. So.
And speaking of like being a mother, like this is the difference between being a mom and being a mother. See, mother got a very strong mindset to where they like this. Yours truly is right here. Great mother, because the mentality they got to go through. You know, it be Sunday like start from being homeless and stuff, and they still pull out how to make it just to make it in life. Mm-hmm. A mom, street rat. Pretty much a street rat. That's what they are. Yeah, I'm start saying street rats. You can't say boppers and all that. Like we need to start saying street rats.
I mean, that's exactly right though. You know, like anyone could be a parent, mom or dad. There's some doing out there on their own and they're doing a great job, and that's what matters. But it does matter of what comes after that. And like you said, it could have been anyone, and there's a big difference of when you want to stop being selfish and doing that. And I was selfish for many years before all this, and then I got to a better place. So it takes work. It takes you being in the right mindset. Can you imagine? I was going through all that, wondering what's wrong, what's happening with myself, let alone trying to raise these kids the right way. And then everything that I was taught, I had to reverse. That is insanity. Like, it is so hard. Even till this day, I'm like, am I doing it right? I question it all the time.
And see, folks, she's living proof that, hey, anybody can do it as long as you put your mind to it. Got to be very courageous, spontaneous, elegant.
Furthest thing from elegant, but
you're in your own way. You really are elegant. You know, everybody got their own ways of being whatever. You know, like you're great.
You're so sweet. Love you to death. But I think it just takes hard work. It really does. It takes wanting to do the work, because it wasn't easy. I had to do so many things, get in a program, have a therapist, all this other stuff to be able to talk about these things and be able to have it out and realize what I was doing wrong. I think that's one of the biggest things, especially with sobriety, is that you do have to admit you did so much wrong, that you're not the victim always. And in certain situations, especially with this book, I was the victim, but also after my grown-up life, I had to face like admission and that I was doing things the wrong way and I couldn't just hide under a bottle. And that was one of the biggest things to face, but it's hard work. It is such hard work. Like I said, I'm still working on it every day.
And was that a very hard pill to swallow when you finally realized, you know, hey, like I know I'm messed up too, but I know I'm gonna do the best I can to better for the future, which is your love your children. You know, that was a hard pill for you to swallow at first, right? When you realized, you know, you was. I said, "Man,
I always find that expression really funny though, because when you say hard pill to swallow, it was easy for me to swallow pills and do the wrong thing, you know. So I've always found that really funny. It's when I got sober, you know, and not swallowing pills anymore or drinking is when it got really hard. But once you were able to get past that and think about all the things that's happened the right way with a fresh mind and everything, I feel like you work yourself so well and you can face it. And when you're stop being afraid of it, that makes such a difference. I stopped being afraid of everybody around me and what they were going to think and what they're going to be afraid of. I love that I can stand on right is right, wrong is wrong. That's it, point blank. There's no in between. You can say whatever to me, but I did the right thing. And when it came to that, I think the only people were my close friends that I had at the time and the DA. The DA honestly helped so much, being like, this is what we have. This is not just on you. Just because you're giving a testimony doesn't mean he wouldn't be put away. And that's why the craziness of everybody else being like, oh, it's just you. It's only because you said that. It's what's absolutely crazy. But as you read in the book, too, you'll see all the stuff that happened beforehand and they were sweeping under the rug. So really, you're going to think that he didn't do this after all that? Come on.
Wow. And while you was in court, like, did y'all lock eyes with the individual? Like, what was going through your mind when y'all, that you was looking at a monster in the eyes in that court?
Right before I got called in, actually, they had the little one speak. And so they had me right outside the doors. So right before I came in, and they didn't say anything that could change the testimony or anything that could be different. It was just her asking her simple, cute questions. She was so innocent, and she answered so honestly and just being so young and innocent. And that's when I realized, like, man, I am doing the right thing. Like, no one could speak for her. She can't even speak for herself. She's so innocent and beautiful, and being like, just saying the nicest things, not even anything against him. She was saying the nicest things towards him, and he still did this. And he was still trying to say that it wasn't true. And so that made me walk in with my head almost angry. And I was ready. And I just looked at him like, you're going down.
Wow.
I just had no sympathy after that. So, and that helped a lot because, it's still nerve-wracking. I still had people days prior being like, why are you doing this? This is disgusting. That was your blah, blah, blah. And it was awful. It was nonstop bullying. Luckily, I handled that very well, bullying.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. Trust me, like, even back when we was in high school, like, you know how to handle that then. So so I know.
Yeah, I was a fighter. But that's the thing, too. We're so young, we're kids. And, a lot of the times, that's what I'm saying, that gets always misconstrued, like, oh, you're such a bad kid. Why are you fighting all the time? What's going on at home that I need to be physically assaulting people constantly that I get that upset about? Where am I learning this from? Like, that's not something that just comes out of nowhere. Or yes, there's a small percentage that people have, imbalancements and things like that medically. But come on now. I mean, for what you've seen, the house was perfect. Everything was beautiful about my family. Why would I be coming to school constantly assaulting someone over the littlest things? Where was I getting that from? Or where was my anger coming from? But that's the thing, especially during our time. Counseling or any of that wasn't a huge thing. Like, it was just like, okay, well, you got in trouble for fighting, go to ISS. Yeah.
Especially the time with the crowbar. Remember the crowbar?
Okay.
That's another story, y'all.
You can get me arrested. We do not need to be.
That's another story, y'all. Nah, it's self-defense, though.
It was
self-defense. But, because it's like she was going up against a giant.
Yeah, and he got real handsy, and he thought I was the one, and he realized real quick I wasn't.
I see, yeah, he learned. You said, you're going to learn today.
Yeah. No names, but he saw him recently. I was like, do you still see that dent on his head?
And doubling back, okay, as you were sober and all that, like, was that first week hard, like, difficult when you started sobering up?
Yeah, well, so court happened. Then after court, there was so many other things. But we were just talking about this actually with the girls because I have my publicist and my other friend that does a lot of my PR. We were just talking about this, that we were counting, and I was like, oh my gosh, I didn't get sober till way after. So 2019, I didn't get sober till 2024.
Oh, wow.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So all that was handled with alcohol. So it was really hard.
Wow.
So anytime I just didn't want to feel the pain. And that's the thing, too. I would get into conversations with people drunk. So it would be 10 times more aggressive. A lot of things said that didn't need to be said. And these people weren't listening to me anyways. But that's the thing about alcohol. It would literally make you think you're saying the right thing and these people are listening to you, but they're not. And that's the thing that I had to learn. It was one of the hardest things because there was times that I had hard conversations with people I didn't think I would have, but I was drunk. So no matter how much truth I said to it, they were basically like, oh, you're just drunk. So it was really hard to get past. And then once I actually did get sober, I just felt like I didn't need to explain anything to them anymore. Like, that was the best piece of all, is that I was able to be clear-minded and work on myself and not feel like I need to explain anything to anybody other than writing my book and to help anyone that goes through these kind of things and to be able to come out. And that's about it.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. And then, does it come, like, do you still, I know you're sober, but do you have one of those occasional drinks? You know, like a mimosa, at least that. I'm just saying that.
Okay, first off, I'd have a beer before a mimosa.
I'm just saying that because I'm trying to be light with it.
Mimosas are dangerous. I'm gonna put that out there.
And they're so sweet, okay? No, no.
I had to say that because, you know, I try to be as low level as I can,
No.
or at least a White Claw.
That was my go-to back in the day. But no.
I used to guilt on you for that, remember?
Yeah, but that's the thing. It's very different. Some people can drink normally. They really can.
Yeah.
I have friends. We still go to bars. We go out dancing. We have a great time. But I was just talking about that, too, because I was like, seeing people drunk now, I'm so thankful I don't get like that anymore, because I never just got like that where it was be fun. I always ended up in a fight, barefoot, standing on something, half naked. Like, there was never just a normal night. I was always acting a fool. I mean, you've been around when I've... You...
Trust me, y'all. She would have had a movie.
That's why he's trying to offer me a beer right now.
Because, like, she had, like, okay, what was the strongest drink that you liked at the time? Like, what was the strongest drinks? It's so many, but what
Gosh,
was...
yeah.
Yeah,
Oh,
what was the drink?
Vodka. I love vodka.
Okay, y'all, if she had too many shots of vodka or whatever, she'll be running in circles around the walls. She ain't gonna do it before she's gonna run the walls like Sonic the Hedgehog.
And I'm gonna disappear. Like, when I drink, I'm gone. I'm on an adventure. My friends would have to, like, track me down, and I'd start running from them. It was bad.
But other than that, though, if you don't trigger her, she's still the sweetest drunk you ever know.
Yeah.
She's very sweet. Just don't even look at her funny. You look at her funny. Don't take much. But I'm glad, you know, you sobered up, you know, and because was you getting tired of being drunk at the time?
It's exhausting. It's exhausting when you have so many problems. And like I said, there's people that normal that enjoy a drink, don't even need to finish a beer. They just enjoy one or watch a game with it. But that was never me. I was always hiding a darkness. Like, I drank so that darkness would never come out. And so I was trying to numb pain that I was self-medicating in every kind of way. So it was never normal for me. It was never just a beer and enjoyment. I always had to do too much and then ended up myself in 10 times worse situations every single time. So.
Oh, wow. Okay. Yeah. Okay. But
you got to see the fun stuff. But
I did.
The after effect and me throwing stuff
Just
and
throwing-
breaking shit.
Trust me, I had fun. We both had fun, but I had real fun. I was sober seeing all this stuff.
That is true. That's what I'm saying. You were normal. You could just enjoy and be there and be in the moment. That was just something that I could not do.
But I also protected her too. So
You did.
I always made sure she got back safe. I always make sure she got back home safe. Make sure she ain't gonna get hurt. Cause trust me, I had her back. I was pretty much, but still to this day, bodyguard.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. You were always such a great friend. You were just a great human being. You're one of the greats. I'm so glad we always stayed strong. But that's what I'm saying. We just don't fight.
Yeah,
We
we
just
know.
have two good characteristics always going together.
We got to the point to where we can roast each other good.
Yeah.
But, and then no hard feelings after that. You know, that's true friendship supposed to be. You know, no hard feelings after that. You're not supposed to get into your feelings when you
I think
roast
that's why
somebody.
we got along so well, because we were not sensitive people.
Nah, we really was like we was just going right since day one.
Mm-hmm.
We went at it with each other, but it's no negativity for some reason. It's always been positive vibes for 20 plus years.
Yeah. And I'm not a huge gamer, but I loved watching always his videos. Anything that he would post, or I would even tell him, be like, how are you watching that scary stuff? And he's like, I'm playing it. I'm like, even worse.
Yeah, remember the one I was focused on that cockroach?
Yeah.
It's like you ain't worried about all these ghosts and goblins running around, but you focus on the cockroach. I said that was a big cockroach. I was focused on that.
Yeah.
But okay, so as far as like we're not gonna talk about the name of the drugs and all that, but like while you was doing them, like was it also a daily thing with the alcohol too? You was mixing it with them?
No, if someone had something, I wouldn't be against it.
Okay.
You know, like, and it was far and in between with the other heavier stuff. But I mean, see, I don't want to even compare that though, because the way I consumed alcohol and what I was doing, it would be like taking anything hard. For
Okay.
me, alcohol equaled just as much as any of the other hard stuff. You can't, tit for tat or compare on that one because the way I acted when I drank would be like if you gave me 6 different drugs. It was bad. So.
Oh wow! So
Yeah.
you was really just guzzling.
Mm-hmm.
You was a suburban. The gas guzzler. That's what you was when it came to that, huh?
Yeah, and that was always the thing. Like I'd always be like, "Oh, I've had 10 beers. You've only had 2. What a loser!" Like, no, I was the loser. I don't know. I always thought comparing that was such a cool thing, or I could drink a man under the table, but I would end up under the table. Is the biggest problem with all that.
No, you was under the floor. There wasn't no table. You was under the floor.
Well, under it, I said.
You went beyond the table. It was the floor. but I'm very proud of you to escape all of that. Cause like I said, you gotta be very strong-willed to get out of there. Cause
It took a tribe, man. It wasn't just one thing or another. Like I had to get into a program. I had to get a sponsor. I had to do therapy as well. When this was all coming out, like I got the offers on this book so many times, and then before that, I had this one publishing company reaching out wanting to publish it so badly. But a lot of it was more just the news side of it, because they knew it was a crime. They knew it was on TV. So true crime's such a big deal right now. So they were like, we can turn it into a show or blah, blah, blah. I just wasn't ready to face that yet. So I kept subsiding. I mean, this has been talk for how long? And now it's out. But I got all the help I needed. But it wasn't just me by myself. I did so much to get there. And it was being able to talk to someone about all this and, get my feelings out the right way because I was still trying to keep it in. I felt like, okay, well, this book comes out. I won't have to talk about it. That's ridiculous. So, I mean, it took a lot of steps to get in the right way.
and a lot of steps, and then a lot of courage too for you to create this masterpiece. It's gonna be even more popular than the Harry Potter books. Trust me, it really is. It really is. And
Well, that one's friendly and fun. This is real scary and traumatic, but if you like it, it definitely goes far.
hey, but you gotta think about it though. Like some people like to have the raw detail and stuff
Yeah.
too, though. And even in the friendly books, it's still raw detail.
Yeah.
So yours is raw as well. It's just another genre, of course. But I believe the popularity is gonna be greater than Harry Potter. That's how I believe.
Honey. I'm so excited. I'm really excited for book 2 because this one's all about the hurt. And that's why this one is a little more gruesome because it's all the stuff that happened. And part 2 goes, because where I end it, made a lot of people mad, but I'm like, because it sets it up perfect for book 2. So that's what we're so excited about. And then part 2 is, this one's Injustice Silence, part 1, the hurt. And then the second one will be Injustice Silence, part 2, the healing. So that will be awesome. I love that I'll be able to talk about my story, but then there'll be a lot of stuff in between because that one explains the rest of court, after court, and what it took for me to get sober, the in-betweens. And there's some gritty stuff in there because, like I said, this is all new, finally getting the balance and stuff like that, but there was a lot of hardship in between that. Like you were saying, moms go homeless and still there for their kids. I lived in my car with my kids. And they were so little, they didn't even remember it. My son just thinks we were camping, but that's the hardship between all this, is what you have to go through, and you can't even think about yourself for a second. So.
And on that part, something that was came to see, that's how purity a child's mind is. See, like in their mind, hey, think we chilling somewhere, like say camping out, and the number 2 and number 3, since they was too young to remember, it's like you can't even ask them that question because they ain't gonna remember that.
Yeah.
But in your mindset, yeah, you know the true reality of it. I know you was doing everything you can, to make it peaceful while you was going through all of that. But like, don't you ever think about it? Like when you just look back at all this, like, don't you laugh at all that stuff?
Some of it's laughter. A lot of it is if it doesn't have to do with the kids. But with the kids, it's a little still hard, just the fact that I even put them through that. But I'm so thankful now, like in the beginning when I first got sober, those reminders made it almost hard to stay sober. And that's so weird with how much good it's done. But it just would make me want to numb the pain again, like self-numb, because it hurts so bad that I put them through that. But then now, with more time passing, now when I think about it, it just reminds me why I'm doing it. And that I'm going to continue doing it, and that we'll never have to live that life again.
Wow.
I never say never. Things happen, but, you can always get back on it. That's what matters.
That's true. So, like, during that, was you craving it? Like, it's almost like you needed it, right? Like, you couldn't live without the alcohol?
No, weirdly. And then right before I got sober, that was the time that I was in my coffee, at lunch. I was never sober. Like, it was always a drink in my hand. There was never a time that I went without it. And especially right before I did. But then, so I was driving home from like a business trip or something was going on. And that morning, because, you know, they have the travel bars and stuff like that, I ended up drinking way too much. And so I was on my way home. The kids got out of school. And so on my way home from the airport or wherever I'm traveling from, I got pulled over. But I was drunk. And so when I did that, the cop was like, hey, what's going on? Blah, blah, blah. So I'm like, oh my God, I'm going to jail. There goes my career. There goes, I had full custody of my kids. I was the one taking care of them. My job had a zero tolerance on that. Like, you know, now everything gets put on media, social media, blah, blah, blah. And so when I did that, I was just like, there goes my whole entire life. So then I handed my driver's license. He comes back and he goes, there's an accident up ahead. I got to tend to. Please get home safe. I was like,
the great ones was looking after you.
I don't even understand it. You know, I know so many people with different stories. I think he's always looking out for everyone. Whether you end up in jail, whether something happens, I think if you get your life together, he's looking out for everyone. But that day, it was just my time. And so thankfully, I got to the house and then I had talked to my brother actually. And he was like, well, it didn't work for me, but you should try this and that, you know? So then I did. And just since then, I stayed. It was crazy. It's just, I was ready. I was just done with feeling that way and realizing that I could ruin my entire children's life. It wasn't even about me. It was them.
Yeah.
What would they have without me?
And like I said, folks, it's the difference between a mom and a mother. This is a mother. Remember, moms are street rats. Okay? They're
I'm
the
a little
equivalent of
street rat.
rats.
Let's be honest.
You was not a street rat, okay? You was not a street rat. You was like a badger. That's what you were. You was a badger.
That's what I call my son and my nephew. I'm like, y'all are honey badgers. You guys get it from me, for sure.
You was a badger.
Yeah.
You wasn't no regular street rat.
Someone calls me a rabied raccoon.
Oh.
No worries.
So I got a couple questions for you, and I think we're going to open up for Q&A here in a minute.
Oh, okay, great.
And then the first thing I want to point out is you got the chat thanking you for sharing your personal story, you know, that it takes real strength, you know, and you got a few people saying thank you for sharing. And I think it's very important, right? Because, you know, coming from the Hispanic, I come from a Hispanic household, obviously I'm Mexican. I think it happens a lot in the Mexican household, you know, abuse, whether it's sexual abuse, whether it's, you know, just physical abuse or emotional abuse. And I think with Hispanics, it's more common that you hear about this abuse in the future than when it's going on, right? A lot, like you said, a lot of people discourage you from talking about it. So what finally got you to say, you know what, I'm gonna put it out there. I'm gonna put it in a book. I'm gonna tell my story, right? Because I know you said, I heard you earlier saying that, you know, first started off with writings and then you had a friend tell you, hey, this is really good. What made you say, hey, you know what? Yeah, I'm gonna put it out there. I'm gonna put my story out there.
That's a really good question. Actually, I just knew I was going to, and it almost started for revenge for them. Like when his sisters were being really mean to me, calling me out and saying all these awful things, or family in general. I already had it. I didn't think it was going to be a book, but I knew I was going to get it out there somehow. Like I was like, I'm going to tell the truth for the whole world to know what actually happened, and that's what motivated me. But then I started putting it into writing, and then I just realized that. Like I think I announced before I even knew it was going to turn into a book. I'm like, this is going to be a book, and this is going to come out. And it was almost more to scare them for what they went, but that's what brought it into it. And then I just started writing and writing. But like I said, I changed a lot. Before I got sober, it was really angry. Like 3 chapters were about my baby daddy. I should have never done that. But Thankfully, I got sober and changed all that, because now the book definitely goes for helping people. Before, it was so angry and people would have got the wrong message. Like it would have been like just almost selfish talking about it. But now I can talk to people about understanding, like you're saying, being Hispanic. This is not just about me and what happened to me and what happened to this girl. It's also about like what my brother went through, that he couldn't have emotions. My dad was so rough on him that he couldn't be emotional, and he was so rough on me, being like, oh, are you the guy in the family? Like you're acting like a guy. Like you can't be your own person. There's these standards that we have being Hispanic, And being Mexican, that, like, you know, my brother being a little more sensitive, this and that, he got beat for it. Like, that's insanity, you know? You could be your own person. Everybody could be different, woman or man. You can have a different characteristic, and that's one of the biggest things that I highlight so much about this, that abuse isn't always just physical, it's mental, too. Like, he got put down so much for just being himself, and there was nothing wrong with him.
Man, you took that question out of my mouth. I was going to say that for the last 5 minutes of that. I was actually going to pitch that, but I'm glad you said it already. But I'm actually going to put a shout out on the chat where it says Stephanie Rodriguez. She was telling you, Jackie, like, thank you for sharing something so personal. That takes reil strength. That was the one I was telling you about, you know, on my Instagram. The one I showed you, that's her.
Oh, she's gorgeous.
Yeah,
Hi.
she's phenomenal. Like, hey, her work is great. Like, her cosplay and all that, her doing the modeling.
Yeah, I saw.
Spectacular.
Beautiful. Great work, girl. That's amazing.
And we have a question from Susie Q22. How did you go about publishing? How did you get your book published?
So I actually got really blessed and lucky almost. Like, it was a little bit different. So my friend that had the company first, she had worked for a small publishing place here in Dallas, but she ended up moving to Chicago. But she's like, I still have connections if you still want to get it out there, this and that. So then this other, she put it on, like, I guess the sites that they read books or stories and see what's going on. So then a couple others reach out to me from here locally. But the biggest thing they were focusing on was the court part. Like, that was their biggest thing, was reading the court part, that it made national news. So for them, it was just about the crime. And so it just kind of bothered me. Then this other smaller publishing company was like, we read your stuff, we really like it, we like all of it. And that was the important part to me, the before, the middle, and then the after. So then Amazon reached out. And so then they were like, hey, we're big, we have a lot of, you know, connections and stuff like that. So then it took years of doing that. And then I started doing, they set me up with a team that also does self-publishing. So, you know, you get the ownership of the book and it doesn't just get given away, because we could have gone the easy route of just selling it. But I definitely wanted to be able to speak on it and have my vision of how I wanted it. And now with this final team, it was Amazon and Authors House Publishing, or Authors Publishing House. I'm sorry, I always mess that up. I'm so sorry. Jordan, if you're watching this, I'm sorry. But they helped me put my vision exactly how I wanted it. And so now I have it, and then me and my team got to start our own company with it. So that's really cool.
And part 2, right? I know you said there's part 2. Is that book getting ready to come out, or are you in
Yes.
the process? Okay.
So in a couple months, we're going to start. Yes, it's
nice.
been in the
Nice.
works. We're still adding a couple things too, because I love what we're going with. It's a very different change than this one, but it just has so many things of the healing and past stuff, and then they correlate together. And so our goal at the end of this actually is to publish other people. So that's why we turned it into our company, so we can hear the same stories and get them out there for other people.
See, Slick Rick forever. So I have a question. Usually, what is the smoking gun of all aggressive Hispanic parents and families? Is it the failed expectations for their children themselves, the financial struggles? What is your opinion on that?
I think that was it for me. I think having kids, when I had them, I realized I'm never going to not protect them like I wasn't protected. But I think what a lot of people don't realize is financial abuse is that. It's exactly that, like someone being like, don't do this because he pays for everything. Don't do this because she takes care of this and that. And that abuse is not mentioned enough, because that is one of the hardships. Like, even the testimonies I received from other families, this girl basically had to take back her whole claim that her mom's boyfriend was, can I say certain words, that was raping her, because her mom was like, he pays all our stuff. Take back what you, even if it was real. And that's what I'm talking about. Like, that's so sad. And that's what made me, and I got, at the time when all these people were coming to me and telling me their stories, it was really hard for me because I was going through it and I didn't even know how to understand it. And I felt like everybody also, when I first did it, they were like, we're so proud of you. Thank goodness that you did this. But it was hard. Even with all these people saying I was doing the right thing, I had a lot of people make me feel like I was doing wrong.
Have you ever heard of the organization called BACA? It's Bikers Against Child Abuse.
Yes, I have.
So we've interacted with them personally. My brother's son was murdered by his stepfather. I guess the question here is, would you ever work with an organization with that? Because I heard you say something about you were going to court for someone else, right? Not beyond of yours. Have you ever worked with any organizations or?
No, it wasn't very public, just because it was a children involved. And at the time, actually, when it came out, I'm surprised it wasn't out there more. It did make national news, but it wasn't like nonstop. I'm sure now with the book and people are going to start looking it up and things like that. But yes, I would. 100%. I would work with anyone that's with the same thing.
That's nice. If you don't know who a baka, they're a bunch of bikers, right? And they'll go with the kids to the court.
Okay.
They'll be there to protect them and just
Escort
make them
them.
feel
It's
safe. Yeah.
beautiful.
I've heard
seen
of
so
that.
many
I've never
stories.
seen it. I've heard of that stuff though. Yeah.
When we buried my nephew, they all rode in. So I mean, and they come from all over the United States. So
Oh wow.
Yeah.
That's a good organization. Shoot.
Jessica said, "What was your rock bottom? What inspired you to make the change and get sober?"
Okay, that's my best friend. She just wants to hear the story again. That was just it. It just, I kept hurting people. Like, one of the biggest things about sobriety, too, is that you do so much to change your character to not be doing the same things. Like I said, even when I made my amends to my son, I apologized to him, and that's one of the biggest things when you're working something. And I apologized to him, and he said to me, "Mom, you've always taken care of us financially and got us stuff." And he goes, "But I really didn't think you wanted to be a mom." And I was like, and that's the thing. Like, you realize characteristics like that. Like, even though that's something I would say about my mom, which is crazy because I would always be like, I'm never going to be like you. I'm never going to do what you did to us, this and that. But then, like I've said, you get this embedded in you for so long that you're still doing the same characteristics that you swore you wouldn't do, because it's a lifelong damage that you're trying to face. And so just realizing everybody that I was hurting and all the things I was doing, and then when I got pulled over, I realized I'm going to ruin everyone's life for what? A drink? That's insanity. And it just made me realize that I could do better, or at least try.
That's good.
Do whatever it took.
Good for you. Good for you.
Thank you.
Inspiration.
Spectacular.
Hey, 1 weeker. That's
Yeah,
amazing.
yeah. No,
That really
you talk
is,
about
man.
being looked out for, by the man upstairs. I mean, he can tell you. That night I was blacked out, and I was at the car trying to turn the car on with my truck keys. I was trying to stick my truck keys inside the car, and it's a remote starter. So to me, I'm like, man, I had to Uber home, but in my head, I'm like, man, if I would have driven home, somebody wasn't gonna make it home that night. Like,
Yeah.
I really think I would have crashed or something. So
Yeah, that's the
trying it, we're
biggest
trying it.
thing. You don't realize that I never put pen to paper that I wanted to unalive. But doing things like that, you don't realize how much there's a hardship. Or even my family, like some of them I used to party with, they would get pictures of me with the kids blacked out on the floor, and they'll literally be like, "Why'd you get sober?" I'm like, "Good Lord."
The audacity.
Well, that's just time. I want to be boring. There's no explaining it, but that's the thing, because we normalize it so much, and especially in the Hispanic culture. Like I said, they would get videos of me like that, passed out with my kids, and be like, "Oh, she just overdrank." Like, that's not okay.
Remember that one video I sent you that she was so gone. Her friend did like a cartwheel, but she was so gone. She was like, just fell right into the face first. Remember that video?
No, I don't.
I did.
Yes.
I said, Jack, was that you just doing it? But
Yeah, he didn't even know I was sober. Like, he reached out to me, and we've always talked here and there. We laugh about stuff. But he goes, when he sent that video, I was like, "Thank you so much. I've been sober for 1.5 years, but thanks for the reminder." And then he was like,
You
"What?"
motivated me to keep
Yeah.
going. Yeah.
But that's what I said. When I go out with friends,
Motivation.
I love being their DD now. And like I said, a lot of my friends that do drink, they don't go overboard. They just have, but it's fun to watch them. But then that reminds me of being like, I would never be like this. I would be 10 times worse. So it's good little things. But like I said, to each their own. Some people can't be around it that much when they first start off, and it's the smart thing to do. Do whatever is comfortable for you and to keep going.
Yeah.
Susie Q, do you see yourself as a lifelong writer moving forward? Like, is that your...
Yes. So I always loved writing, and it got taken away from me kind of young because I wrote all these journals. That's the point of the cover. It scribbles like a journal.
I never put two and two together. You're right. It does look like a journal.
And so when I was younger, I wrote journals all the time. So then I guess my dad was getting nervous with what I was writing in there, and he goes, "Do you ever talk about me and the things I do?" I go, "No, never." And I actually didn't. It's like I only wrote the happy things. But then I had like 6 journals, and he was finally like, "I just don't think you need to write anymore." And he took them all. And so it was kind of like my way of being my freedom came back, because I always did love writing, and I was a good writer. And so even when I did essays at school, so I actually have like 6 books in the work now. And like I said, I want to read other people's stories and publish them. So that is the main goal. So yes. I'll have a lot of stuff, and not everything will be dark. I have some good stuff coming out, but
Yeah, trust me. She's not entirely dark, y'all. Trust me. It's rainbows and sunshines and all that too.
Yeah.
Trust me.
Well, I'm ready for your part 2, the healing portion of it.
yeah, I'm excited. I'll be here. I'll get it to you guys as soon as it does. Yeah.
Pedro?
I think you can ask my question.
I told you I had questions.
Yeah. And he,
Oh,
and
yeah,
he took-
actually, I'm sorry.
Okay.
How many parts is it going to be? I think
Just 2.
just 2? Okay,
Yes.
okay.
So it's part 1 and part 2.
Okay.
And then like she said, the other books are going to be different things.
Yeah, one will be actually, we already put that one kind of into works. It will be about my son's journey during this. So I think
Okay.
it'll help a lot of
Kind of
parents
like a
see.
third party point of view.
Yeah, well, it'll be his. And now that he's actually older, I'm kind of getting notes from him
How
and
old
the
is he?
stuff that he's 12.
Okay.
So and
18
now-
actually.
And so we were just talking about this because I'm like, they really love the idea for that one, and I think it would help a lot of parents see what they go through, what we
Yeah,
do,
the
and
child's point of view.
Mhm, yeah, because it's rough hearing him at first. I couldn't listen to him the first year sober because I was like I said, it was a lot of I wish this never happened. And even this book, like, I'm so thankful to be able to share my story now. But there's times that I would be like, why did this have to happen to me? But
My son's 20, and a lot of times he'll be like, you remember when? I'm just like, oh, don't remind me. Don't remind me.
Well, that was last week.
yeah, that was 5 minutes ago.
Wes, what's next? Are you planning to continue to share your story? Yes, there's a part 2. Sorry.
Yes, and also we are working with this amazing production team and these promotional producers, and they're talking about doing it into a TV show or movie, so that will be really cool. And then also I'll be speaking at universities at all these conferences, so they're going to start setting that up in the next 3 months, so I'll be traveling all over to speak. I never thought that was going to be an option. That's
crazy
really
because
cool
that was
when
the
they
next
came to
question.
me.
Have you ever considered being a public speaker? But look
Yeah,
at you, you're
they
about to
found
be.
me, and I thought that was so cool. So we're really excited about that. But that's why I was telling you. That's why coming here was a good practice. 'Cause
And for the show, I'm probably not too sure, but is it like short story shows? Like, what was that show we were talking about? Law and Order? Kind of like short stories?
oh yeah, I don't know that part yet. I don't know if they're going to do episodes or it's a TV show or a movie in general, like doing it exactly like the adaptation of the book.
Jacob, so proud of you. Keep going, babe.
It's my boyfriend.
Nice.
He's so cheesy every time. Can y'all block him? No, I'm just
Oh.
Yeah,
Say less. Say less.
We need all the
Thank
followers.
you, thank
Follow
you.
us.
He is so proud. He was the
Please,
first.
please hit like. Please give us a-
Yeah, and follow. Oh gosh,
If you
he's
really
so
love
bad
her.
with technology too. Poor thing. But he was actually the first partner I had that read this. That was really hard for me. Like every time he read it manuscript, like when it was first printed, and he grabbed it from me because I still didn't want. It was weird. I could share it with anyone, but having a partner that you're intimate and what you've been through that part was
Yeah.
hard. And so he's reading it, and I'm like, please stop. And then a lot of the time too, beforehand, he's always like, hun, that's family. You got to be nice. And I'm like, I don't agree with you on that. I'm sorry. If I did that, then my kids wouldn't be where they are today. But then he read the book and he's like, we're never speaking to anyone in your family again.
I take it you lost contact with some of your family over.
I did some. Some just live in the same thing, sweeping under the rug and pretending it doesn't exist. So they kind of talk to me
Yeah.
normal. I really hope all of them read it, not even to hurt them, so they can do the healing they need to do. Because I really, like I said, I know they sound like monsters, but I think a lot of it, if they just grasp and realize they need their own kind of help and therapy and that this happened to them as well, it would change dynamics. But also, the biggest expectation is sometimes some people want to be bad and they'll take it to the grave. Like, someone told me once, like, oh, your kid's dad will regret it someday, or this will happen, you'll regret it someday. They might not. They might go to the death with that, and that's just because there's good or bad, and that's just what it is. And I think the more you accept that, the more you can find your own peace and realize, like, you don't need closure from other people. You need it for yourself.
Yeah. That's the cold truth, y'all. Hey, you gotta accept it,
Yeah.
No, I
Oh,
still,
no.
I still have a
Oh,
question.
you said you can't block me.
Oh, that was, yeah, I thought so.
How's that?
What can you say to others who have had your situations pushed under the rug and their monsters have yet to see justice?
Oh, I love that question. See, and that's the biggest thing, though. I would say speak on it or tell someone, but someone is going to listen. Someone is going to listen. Someone's going to. And that's why I want to have this platform as well with these books. It doesn't have to be a book you reach out to. I want to help anyone I can that comes to me and is like, I've had this, or have a young teen be reading this and realize, okay, maybe my whole family's saying that I need to sweep it under the rug. I'm going to come out anyways. I'll find someone, and you will. Whether it's a teacher, whether it's some family friend, or not even family friend. Like I said, one of the biggest things I talked about is I had no one after this happened. Then I met my two good friends, and they were my support, and they just were on board with me day one. And that's the thing. So you'll find someone, you will. And I think that you just have to keep trying. And like I said, I want this to motivate people to speak about it. Say it out loud, say it on a platform. You will have so many people backing you up.
Say it loud. Jackie, she proud.
I think that goes back to what I said earlier. In the Hispanic community, it's a lot of hush-hush. So hopefully this book inspires a few people to
I hope so.
speak out.
That is the biggest thing. And it's not just our culture, too.
Yeah.
You know, like I said, when the testimonies came out, it was from all over.
Oh, yeah. It's more than that because, honestly, I used to think it was just, like, in the black community. Honestly. I thought it was just black. But when I started seeing other friends from different cultures, like, I said, okay, so it's not the blacks that just go through that type of curse.
And I think we all do that. Like, you mean I'm like Hispanic, but actually it's all culture. So
yeah.
I think we just kind of look at our own environment and forget about the other environments. But, yeah.
Yeah. I don't want to pinpoint one, but one of them, actually, I got more from that culture than Hispanic. Wow. And they were reaching out to me, and their stories and they were all the similar culture, and I was like, wow. But I could see it, too, because they have very big standards on you do something out of what they want, that's shame. They shame you because that's the number one thing.
And they shame you hard. Like, I think I know what you're talking about, but it be some other coaches that, like, shame harder. A lot. Like, yeah, I'm not going to say it either, but, like, they're like, when they found out that this person had a kid with this person, that family disowned them.
Yep, exactly.
Yeah.
Things like that.
Courtney said, you went through an unimaginable abuse as a child, yet you turned pain into purpose. What would you say to women who are still sitting in silence, feeling like their voice doesn't matter?
Oh.
Good question.
That is so good. And that's also another one of my best friends, so.
Best for number 1 or 2? Which one?
Oh, wow. Fair.
Oh, so you gonna cause some conflict with this?
Someone's calling.
Oh, it's time to go.
Oh, they're about to blow up the group chat.
Podcast over. Stop recording.
So, I love that, though. That's what I talk about mainly. Like, I turned from broken to book. For me, that was what I did. But I think that if you're still sitting in silence, I will say this, just voice it. Voice what you can to someone. Someone will listen. I felt like I had no one, and I found a group, and what I had, even talking to you, you know, I always had a hard time talking to you, and then once I could, it felt so good because you love with all your heart, and you can find that out of strangers. I ended up having no family, but I made my friends into family, and it was incredible, and they were absolutely strangers.
Nice.
Oh, but that's a hard one, too. Sitting in silence, I mean, it's
well, the
so
important
hard.
thing here, and I would like to think, this is what you think, is that their voice will always matter. So
Yes, it does. Your voice does matter. Someone cares. I care.
Yeah. Especially me. Wow. And then, like, when you were sitting in silence, like, was it so silent it was still loud to you to where you hear that, you know, little death ring, you know, when to be quiet?
Well, I did talk about that because I think when I drank, I was silent when I was sober. But I think when I drank, like, I probably met strangers at the bar and was like, you know what happened to me?
Oh.
They were probably like, this psycho, get away from me. Because when I drank, God knows what I was saying, you know, so. But we did just mention that, like, it's so funny. I probably scared so many people. Or even with your actions, you don't realize it, like, when you drink and you're acting so out of control and doing all these things that you wouldn't usually do, or like I said, beating people at random, that's a cry for help. You're doing something out of character or something that's not normal like that, and especially when you drink, that's because you're constantly keeping it in, and then when you do finally self-medicate, blows up.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Wow. Okay, we're gonna do what we call the end of the show shout out. So we'll let you, since you're a guest, whoever you want to give a shout out to. Maybe
Friend number
best-
one,
maybe
friend number
best
two.
friend number one.
To my best friends, they are women. They are the reason I was able to get all this out and feel so much love and support. My children better not be watching this, but just in case, my son, I love you so much. And you are the main reason I did all this. And to any single person that's living in this and staying silent right now, please speak on it. Please find someone or even reach out to me. Like I said, there you have a voice, you are loved, and this shouldn't be happening. So thank y'all so much for having me.
Courtney said number one.
Number one.
I told you. You said you started a conflict, man. That was good. Well, I'm put a shout out to my very good friend Steph Rodriguez. You know, for you really, I can tell you touched her heart. You know, with the story and all that. Cause you know, for her to put a comment like that. So
I'm so glad.
knowing that you touched her heart, hey, yeah, you really send a message out there.
That's been the best feedback.
Thank you, Steph.
Well, I guess my turn. I want to thank you. Big shout out to you for coming on here and speaking on your story. Hopefully we can get your autograph on the book.
You will.
We would appreciate it.
Appreciate y'all buying it. I brought y'all
really,
one.
really good. It's a really good read, right? And you know, my family has gone through something similar, so you know, it resonates with myself. So, and I'm proud of you for going sober. So.
Thank
You're
you.
an
I'm
inspiration.
proud of you. That's still
Inspiration. Well,
progress, not perfection, man.
The weekend's
We'll
coming.
put a pin on that one.
The weekend's coming, so let's
And
let
also
you know
understand that it's not just women. Men, too. This happens to both. And speak out. Doesn't matter who you are.
that. So big shout out to you. You are my shout out of the day.
Thank you.
Pedro.
Shout out for the autograph. for the autograph I'm about to get.
Yeah.
But no, thank you for coming on. It was really inspiring, and really I want to give a big shout out to the chat. Everybody joining at the end. I put on there the questions, and nobody was asking questions. I'm like, okay, but then they all jumped in at the end, so it was good. It was
Hey,
good.
we
It's
were so into the story.
yeah, little. I mean, it's a little different than what we usually do. Well, yeah, it's a Man Cave podcast.
Yeah.
We drink beer, talk ish, and whatever. But we also do other episodes like we'll bring on guests and stuff like that. So it's a lot. We don't really have
A set.
a set. You know, we just anytime we feel something's important, you know, that needs to be talked about, you know, we'll talk about it. Like we did the September men's health and the suicide awareness episode. So that was a
That's
very
awesome,
important
yeah.
episode. One of the things, like you were saying, the people that you had to talk to, like my buddy right here, you know, when I was going through depression or whatever,
Best friend number one.
best friend number one. And then also my friend Robert, and then my dad, and then now more recently my little sister. So, yeah, like you said, you know, being able to talk, and I would say finding the right people to talk to. Sometimes you talk to some people and they're not really in your best interest.
Yeah.
So they just kind of just want to find dirt out or something, or not really trying to help. But
So
other than
true.
that, yeah.
Well, thank you very much for joining us, Chad, and thank you for coming.
Yes, thank you.
All
So-
right. Man Cave out.
Yeah, yeah.
Down. I thought we were doing it again.
Hold on.
Thank you.